welcome to another episode of Inside the Barrel, where John and I today are going to jump into exploring a ServiceNow San Diego release, because it just launched last week. And so John and I have been trying to dive into some release notes, some cool things, and just kind of give our first impressions of what we see. Cool. And then if this is your first time joining us, then what John and I normally talk about is pretty much anything ServiceNow.
Yeah.
Hey, Dimitar, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. Welcome. And yeah, we're just gonna dive through, give you some consulting, behind the scenes, and also just anything about ServiceNow. So yeah,
Technical
John.
chit-chattery.
Yeah. And now we have some nice little sounds. So whenever John does something right, we'll clap for him. So
Sweet.
cool. So walk us through, like, when a new release comes out, John. Like, where do you start, or like what's your thinking process?
Really, it's going to be, when am I first going to get a project to be on it? You know what I mean? Like, normally
Nice.
you get
Yeah.
clients who are a couple, or not a couple, but they'll be a release behind.
Mm-hmm.
And so the new release will come out and you're like, oh, yay. I don't get to use it, And
Yeah.
then,
Yep.
so
I know
that's my
that
first
pain.
thought is when do I actually get to get into it and use it with the client, or at least experience it because of the client I'm with. So that's probably the first thing I do. I think deltas help this a
Mhm.
lot because you're kind of forced into at least getting a quick look into it when deltas come around and there's a new release for that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, deltas is probably where it forces you to find all the cool things, because in order to like do your delta, you got to go through the release notes, right? And like
Yeah,
it definitely helps.
for sure.
Cool.
But
So
oh yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, where do you? So when we are ready, it looks like you start on the doc site, right? Is that?
Yeah, and it's pretty nice. I mean, it's not hard to find. It's super easy to find. You just, for me or for anyone out there, it's just you type in ServiceNow San Diego release notes and you'll get here. But
Yeah.
it'd be the same way you'd find the information for when you're doing your deltas too.
Mhm.
So you'd get in here and start looking and reading through the notes and so forth.
Awesome.
I don't like that it took me away from my left menu there.
I was gonna
I
ask,
like this better.
do you ever use your build your own release notes?
Personally, I have not.
Okay. I don't think I have
I,
either. Is it new?
I think maybe, I don't know.
Oh, I was hoping it would, like, select a bunch of stuff and like create it for you, but it doesn't look like it's that intuitive. But this is like essentially
Well,
telling you, go through the process.
I don't log in a lot of times to
Uh,
this side of it. I
mhm,
mean, when I'm
mhm.
looking for notes and stuff, I get that message down here. I'm like, no, I'll log in later if I need to. But yeah, it would be kind of neat that you could pick and choose the stuff that you want and then have it as a
Yeah,
download or something
like
like that. That would be kind of cool.
select your entitlement or something, and like it tells you all the things. Or maybe like do a quick scan of your instance and you see the most popular things that you
Mm.
use or have turned on, and like generate some release notes. Do
That
you,
would be kind of cool,
that's like creator con stuff. Oh man, you heard it
Yeah.
here first. Like, someone should go do a creator con. Maybe we will. Maybe we will. I don't know. Yeah.
That would be pretty neat though, to have it check your instance and say, oh, we recommend these things, and here's the
Yeah.
release notes that fit what you currently have. Ooh, that
Oh
would be
man. It'd be so cool.
Wait, let me get that going. Just kidding.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. IP. We said it here first, right? That's claim to fame, right?
Copyright.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Cool.
yeah, that would be kind of neat. I was excited about San Diego coming out because we were getting a lot of new things, and I'm always, because I do a lot of portal stuff, I'm very visual,
Hmm.
and so I
Hmm.
was excited about the new UI that was going to come out. I don't even what's the name. I don't remember what the name of it is.
So I
What are they
think the
calling it?
official name is like the Next framework, right? Or the ServiceNow Next UI.
Okay.
What's going to happen when there's a next, right? But but I think, yeah, I think that's what it officially is. There's other names like Polaris that was like, behind
Oh,
the
that's right,
scenes.
Polaris. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and you'll
that's the one I
still see
remember.
it littered in the properties and in other places, but I think from a marketing standpoint, it's the Next framework.
I got you. I got you.
Yeah, so let's jump into like where do you want us like maybe let's find the release notes or let's talk about Polaris at a high level. Like, do we want to look for that release note or just jump right in?
Let's see. It probably trying to think of where. I don't know. If you're
It's
gonna.
probably in the combined product. I think when I did see it in release notes, it was like the new UI. Like that's what it was like. Uh, yeah, it's
New
like if any.
UI.
So maybe it's like next. Hopefully it's next.
Next
Now,
experience.
yeah. Glad I
I like
remembered that
I
name.
like how I like how this profile, my cask or inside
Uh,
the barrel profile just went
uh,
red.
yeah,
No,
it's beautiful.
okay, so um, seems kind of small.
Well, I think it's because like it's for the product itself, right? Um, and it's like, here's the release. This is what's new. So this
Yeah,
is like
these are the
unified navigation.
yeah, and that's what will throw you off. Like I think if you come in here, if you have not experienced it yet, it's what'll kind of throw you off because this is new. I mean, normally you'd have your left nav that's always there, but I mean these are kind of favorites in history. We've had those before, but they've been in that left nav, so that's
But
not too unfamiliar.
they're searchable now. So you
Mm,
can
yeah.
search those, and that's like, ooh, that feels good.
It is super nice because once you hit a certain length on here, how do you find what you're after?
Yeah.
Same with favorites, and then all you know there's your list of stuff. And I really do like I'm always a big fan of the kind of uh, transparency here. You can see the words app engine behind the menu.
Mm,
I like that. I think that's good looking.
mhm.
um, I think they've done a pretty good job with this, at least this landing page and how it looks. um,
What about some gripes with this top bar? Because I have some.
oh, do you have some gripes here? Go,
Yeah.
let's hear them.
I think the middle, like where it says the page that you're on, I don't see the value of it, or I'm like constantly distracted by it. And yes, it's nice for favoriting it once, but like I don't. It's like I want to click on it and it never does anything. Like
Yeah.
maybe at least it would be nice if you clicked on it and it refreshed the page. Like maybe that's something useful for, but
Well, yeah, as a UI, someone that deals with UI a lot, why would I put why is there a menu icon there and why is there a button frame around it?
yeah,
Because to me, that's like, oh yeah, I should be able to,
yeah,
oh, I can't do anything.
yeah.
That is distracting. I don't know that I care for that. And um,
I'm not in love with the
this
global
thing,
picker. Yeah, I'm not in
no,
love.
no.
I'm not saying the previous
Me
one was
either.
good, but like this one is just rough.
And I
Um,
think didn't they move? I think preferences is the old thing.
yeah,
And
all
I
those
don't
old
know.
preface stuff is gone.
Yeah, so there's not even a way. and maybe Arnud, the guy who built SN Utils,
Utils.
can do something about this. But I don't. How do you know if you can get the pickers back up there, or is it always through
Oh,
this
you
now?
can't. It's only through that. Yeah.
No, I
And
don't. I
like
don't. I don't
what
like
I
that at
what I
all.
really want there is like hotkey switch. Like I know you
Slash
with
commands.
slash commands exist, but like ServiceNow should hotkey that, or like remove it from us and we never have to deal with them again, right? Like find another mechanism that manages it for us.
Um,
Because managing
yeah,
update sets and scopes like is constantly a nightmare in my opinion.
it
So
is, and that's why you end up with the slash commands from SN Utils to try to move around, because now, unlike before when you'd have the picker up there, it's now an extra step to get in there to do something. And I'm glad they put the filter in there and you can search for it.
yep,
That's nice, but you still have extra clicks.
yep, yep.
And I think that's actually kind of a common theme across this new UI, is that they've added extra movement and clicks.
But I will say for like another upside is agent workspace, UI builder, and the now UI navigation is all the same, which is nice. Like if you go into a workspace or you go into the UI builder, like you're not going into something else, right? So it's the same nav bar. But I will say it's incomplete because I think if you go to Flow Designer, it actually opens it up and it's it like breaks it out. So there's still a few things that isn't in the navigator, right? Like ideally, this would just be inside of a nav bar, right? Um, so, because now you're back to that like old style, right?
And I've noticed this, it goes in and out here and there. There's different
Hmm.
places that you end up in the old style look and then you move into the new style look. And so it's a little, I don't, I'm not sure why it's that way.
Hmm.
But now that we're on a list of things,
Hmm.
see, here's the old way of this working.
Yeah.
Not if I think, or if I can remember where a good spot to look at this is.
Incidents.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. Uh, this drives me nuts, and honestly, I don't like it, and I can't imagine who thought this was a good way of doing things. But it's just, I don't have enough. Anyways, so you have your, before you had your check boxes down the side, right, and they're still there. So you check mark them, and then you'd have your action right here, just like you saw in Flow Designer, right by the
Hmm.
checkbox, right? And I know this is all relative, but I use a wide screen. I have like 34 inches or whatever,
Hmm.
and so when I'm working and I need to do list actions, I click the box, and then I have to travel the mile and a half to do things over here.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily understand why they thought that was a smart move to move this stuff all the way away from where you're actually working.
Yep.
You
I'm
know,
with you. I think I'm so used to when I don't see a new button on the top left that it means I can't add something to that
right,
table.
right.
But now I have to constantly look to the right to be like, oh wait, it's still there. We're good.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. This drives me nuts. I'm not happy with this
yeah.
change.
But
Um,
I will say SNU Till, shout out. That little button next to the action on selected rows, that's really nice. So
the where over
yeah,
here?
two more to the right. This one. So this is SNU Tills, and it will quickly add your updated, created, and updated by. Like, tell me
Oh,
that's
that
not
was,
nice.
yeah.
Because
That
I
is
feel
nice.
just because the amount of like lists that we deal with, and I'm always like, when was this created? Who updated this? Who created it?
And I've been in some instances where they have, I'm not sure how they got it that way, but they have some of the weirdest columns
Hmm.
set up
Hmm.
in their list views, and it's like, why would you add these in there?
Yeah.
This really doesn't help anybody but make it unviewable. But yeah, that is nice that it adds some defaults in,
Yeah. So
and I think,
cheers to you, SNU
yeah,
Tills.
definitely.
Um, I will say though, I mean, they are trying to emphasize like the top left is really like configure your columns or your menu action, your filter, or like your like native search, which is kind of cool. I don't know if you've ever used this. It came out, I think, in Rome, or maybe one before it. But if you type in like caller or something like that in the where it says, well, so this is your old school one where you're searching, right? But inside where it says, what do you want to see?
Oh, here
If you type in
the
like,
natural language filter.
yeah, so if you type in like caller or something like that, it'll try to guess what you're looking for and then be like,
Mm,
is, you know, like caller
yeah,
is,
that's
uh,
kind of nice.
but yeah, if you try using it, right? So do like, so type in caller is, oh,
Oh, does it not do spaces? Oh, there we go.
I mean, I mean, yeah, system admin, something like that. And what's nice is if you aren't
Oh,
experienced with, building out queries, right? If you're a new admin, like it tries its best to, and the filter added caller name contains system administrator. So
so is this part of their AI stuff?
it's part of their natural language uh, querying. So yeah, part of the AI kind of bundle in general. And they give you little tips on it, right? If you want to improve your queries, right? Which is kind of cool. Now, if they only had a keyboard shortcut right next to that box. But yeah, so that's kind of cool. Not really San Diego related, but also cool. But going back to this header, like incident view self-service is now that top like where that star is of the top bar that I was mentioning. Yeah, like I wish it was just something more interactive if you're going to provide that front and center. So
I see. So
um,
if you are you saying if you change, um,
yeah, if you change it, it'll change it as
uh,
well.
I
It's
gotcha.
nice. Um, and maybe it's there because now the URL has changed. It's become so much longer. Um, because now it's all built in like agent workspace technology, or I guess the now framework technology. Um,
Yeah.
so, but cool. What else? Anything on Service Portal or UI Builder since you were talking about UI
Uh,
related things?
Service Portal really hasn't changed much. Um, Not that I recall seeing anything super new or super different with,
Hmm.
your normal day to day with Service Portal. It all, they really haven't changed much. So configuration looks the same. Uh,
Yeah. So if you ever
Colors are
went
updated
to
though.
if you went to the release notes for Service Portal and you click the link, it's a broken link, so don't do it. So too many dynamic script compilations within 1 minute.
Yeah.
Um, so some sharding thing is failing. But oh, it's back now. But yeah, so if you went to, uh, I'm looking at it right now. There's no new updates in San Diego for Service Portal. So again, it's a testament that they're really doubling down on UI Builder, right?
Yeah.
So so maybe those release notes are really good ones.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone knows that that's the direction they're going. Um,
So
I
someone,
just wish they would get
it looks
so
like they've changed Employee Center, so maybe we should look at that.
I don't know if I have Employee Center
I
set
think
up.
it's started by default or installed by default.
What is it? ECC?
Just ESC.
That's right, ESC. I'm so used to
Uh,
the. Oh, look at that.
Beautiful. So that's a normal one. It's in the docs. There's a script that you can run to fix those for the first time. Because you remember our long time ago shout out to the first time we reviewed this in Rome. We had to manually go and change those
Oh, that's
cross
right.
axis script. Yeah.
Right, right.
Um, but this looks Mostly the same. Actually, I don't think they made anything new. I'm looking at the release notes, and there's nothing new for San Diego on this one.
So, and I don't remember if I mentioned this last time we talked about San Diego, but this whole thing that they're doing with like if we look, trying to think of a good way to get in there, the taxonomy and stuff
Mhm.
like that they're using behind all this.
Mm.
Some of you might be old enough to remember, some of us old timers, but back to like the early 2000s where you'd have stuff like Drupal or PHP Nuke,
Mhm.
those old frameworks. There was a lot of emphasis on taxonomy and grouping things like that. So to me, it caught me. It made me think. It's weird that they're going back to this like older. Um, I don't know what the word is, but this older thought process on how to set up stuff to categorize instead of categories, right? Let's use
Mm.
taxonomy. Um, but I do like the idea of how they've done the the combination of grouping things together, because I think a lot of projects that I've worked on is what we were already kind of doing that customized. We were putting things
Mm.
together where you would have a combination of requests and catalog items, or not catalog, knowledge articles, because they all fit under a certain category, right? But
Yeah, and I think
it's
ServiceNow
just
called them,
interesting.
they call them topics now, right? So you build topics that have also topics within them. So whether you are actually using the content strategy of topic, you can at least use that framework there to group things together. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, the so I think one of the bigger things that I've seen in San Diego, and this is kind of ServiceNow's kind of step forward, is they're building more data models. So if you're a specific industry and you're essentially building a bunch of custom things on top of ServiceNow, they're trying to alleviate that pain, and provide you with a data model that works for you. So I think if you go to the release notes, there should be under features by product. So and then if you scroll down a little bit, yeah, industry products. So you see all of these industry products that they're focusing on. So this is like, if you're in these industries, like you should potentially look at these release notes, because ServiceNow is trying to really make your life easier. Um, so like I think technology service management actually is like the new, like, similar to like ITSM, um, bundling of data models. So I don't actually remember specifically, but yeah, I know this relates to ITSM. But yeah, so the goal here is, again, like they're really focusing on specific industries, and trying to make life easier if you're in those industries. So you don't have to build a bunch of custom tables. You don't have to figure out how you're supposed to use the CMDB to handle all of that. So I know that that's like a big thing. Um, Something else that caught my eye here is that digital portfolio management. You want to click on that one? So digital portfolio management, and I don't know if we can actually show it, but it may not work. Is the goal is if you're a fulfiller, but if like you're an architect or a CMDB manager or maybe a portfolio owner, like ServiceNow is trying to give you your workspace, to be able to handle or build work or organize your work, that's related to your strategic portfolio management or your CMDB or your services portfolio. So ServiceNow is also investing in. It seems like ServiceNow is investing in more than just the fulfiller, right? It's always been
Hmm.
around the fulfiller for so long, but now,
Yeah.
like with these new workspaces, or how quickly they're building workspaces for a given person, it's more than just fulfillers in the system.
Nice. No, this is neat.
Hmm.
I do like to see ServiceNow branching out and bringing more things in. Because to me, for a while it seemed kind of stagnant there, probably up till let's see, what came out before Rome? What was Rome? Paris?
Quebec.
Quebec? Somewhere around there, it felt like it started changing. There was a lot more things coming, and when you get on those, if you're lucky enough to listen to the roadmap, like I've been invited to a couple of the roadmap Zoom sessions. It's kind of neat to hear, their strategic plans for the future. But yeah, it just seems like they've really been looking at new ways of doing things, which is really nice. I enjoy that.
So to round off like our UI focus of this, maybe let's check out UI Builder, and maybe we have to start with the release notes on the new stuff with UI Builder, because I think that's probably a good theme for this. So it looks like they've added a low-code JSON editor, at least in the server.
Oh, that's right. You were talking about that the other day, weren't you?
Yeah. So the way I got to this, I would just go to the combined one. The combined one's really nice if you know the product. So cool tip here: if you go to the combined release notes and you know the product that ServiceNow has, the name of it, you can kind of just dive right into it. So, but if you don't know the product and you kind of know like the SKU it's involved or the category it's a part of, then go the other route. So if you scroll down a little bit, it should tell us,
right there.
So looks like in Rome they added the conditional builder, and then this one maybe a low-code editor. And I think if we scroll down, there should be some notion of the JSON editor, but maybe they don't have a screenshot of it, so maybe we have to. Maybe let's jump into the tool. Let's figure it out. So it should, if we just open up UI Builder and we go into any one of those like default ones, just give it a second. Maybe the CSM, FSM, or let's do the CMDB workspace one. Sorry. Just because that's new in San Diego. So the CMDB workspace, they've also invested a lot more time in making the CMDB, again, back to the non-fulfillers, right? So this is something that it would look like. Oh, this one's only read only, so maybe we can't. Go into configure on the right hand side. And so I think this is where the JSON editor would show up. But let's go in, so we can't use the CMDB one because it's read only. Let's open up the CSM one and see if we could find one. Yeah, and it looks like they've also added a repeater, which I think Jon will enjoy when we get to that one. Being able to repeat components. So like essentially your Angular, ng repeat, right? If you didn't want to, if you needed to build a bunch of components. So yeah, so now on the right hand side, let's go to config, and we may actually have to click on, let's like click on something and see if we could find where this low code editor is. Yeah. So is that it? I don't think that's it. We just need to find an example of one that you had to put in JSON.
Oh, that maybe we should do a custom one.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think like what's the way to trigger that. As you can see, Jon and I apparently haven't spent enough time in the JSON editor.
What does it say about that? Oh, they didn't talk too much about it, did it? Right here. But there's the repeat thing.
Yeah, I was looking for. Yeah, we could jump into the repeat one. I'll have to do some more searching for that low code JSON editor.
Oh, so you just choose it as a repeater and then give it a query, or how to get.
The output, right? If you wanted
Yeah.
the output to show, like, so if like you had a list, like you had a query that returned some names, you could then create a repeater component and then throw the output of your query in it. And
It's basically the same idea as like when you do a data list, right? With the widgets and service portal, your data table. If you were going to build a custom one, it's same idea. You want an array like incidents, right? Your list of incidents. Then it just iterates down. I would assume is how they're setting this to work. Would be my guess, because that's what it feels like if you're doing a repeated list, and you're basing it off a query, you're just getting data and looping through it.
that makes sense. Anything else on the lower part of this page, or because this one we could in theory do a demo of relatively easy. So it looks like if you have nested, oh, it even tells you how many times it's repeated. That's kind of cool. And then yeah, I
There's
think it's just
a level.
cool.
So that's neat. I like you. I haven't spent much time in UI Builder. I haven't come across projects that require that yet. The only thing that I guess I would have to say that I've worked in new to me is Flow Designer. But you were
Yeah.
saying Flow Designer really hasn't changed much, and
No,
so
we could open it. I think there's like a try catch block that you can use. There's like the flow diagram. So if we open up, we can open up one of the like approval ones or something. Let's see how lucky you get. Just open one of the ones in global.
there's no search. I don't like that.
It's because you're scroll down.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go. And see, that's the other thing. You'd think this bar would be static.
So yeah, open up the auto closed resolved cases. So this one, there should be some new stuff here. So one, I don't know if we turned on the diagramming, so we didn't yet. You remember that diagramming we tried to do
Oh
last
yeah.
time?
Uh-huh.
So we could try turning that on. But if you go to add an action, just for yeah, and then flow logic. So there should be one for the try catch. Yeah. So this is nice if you think that, or there's chances that your flow can error, rather than aborting, because right on the bottom where it says error handler, like that will essentially run a special set of flow or actions if it ever catches an error. But sometimes you don't want to you don't want to cancel the flow. Flow logic is now searchable. Yes, we did see that. Just want to drum for your kid.
Yeah.
It's okay.
If only I had a mobile camera, I could just show you what they were doing. But
yeah. So the try catch is nice if like you just have a very specific thing that you want to try and catch, and it may error. So super awesome.
Yeah.
And then it'll just continue on. So that's really nice. It's searchable now. What Dimitar was saying. So if you clicked on like another action, and then you go to flow logic.
Oh, here.
This is, you can search because it's starting to get large. Action always had it, but flow logic didn't. But now since flow logic is starting to get bigger,
yeah,
so
that makes it nice. I know the things I ran into, like with this one, is I think there's a little. It's weird that it doesn't. Well, it was more about if you don't pick the right thing, sometimes you get weird, like update record. Yeah, see this one. this is not the right one that you normally use. But it's supposed to be the core one. But I don't know.
Mhm.
It was really weird. I kept running into it. Like if you pick the wrong action,
For the longest time, the lookup one. So if you type in lookup, so I think they fixed this. Yeah. So notice how lookup shows there, but if you do it look space up, there's notice how they're different. Like one's the plural, like if you want to look up multiple, one's the not. So they fixed it so they both show up on one of them, but if you type in look up one word,
yeah.
only
What's
one
the?
of them shows up. So yeah. Yeah.
Bug
I don't
submission for sure, right?
I mean it's been around for like 3 releases now, so I
Yeah,
think I
yeah.
think at least they both show up when you type it without a space.
Yeah,
So
but
that's good.
you have to know that though, right?
That is true. You do have to know that.
But yeah,
Um,
no, I think flow is kind of neat. You know, again, this is I had a project just recently where I was exposed to it. Like I'd never used it before, and I really didn't like workflows from the times I
mhm,
did have to use it. But Flow Designer is really nice um, for a lot of things. There was something I ran into where I had to script it outside of Flow Designer because I just couldn't get it to work right. But for the most part, 99% of the time, Flow Designer worked and it worked real easy.
mhm,
um, I think it was something to do with what I was trying to do with multi row variable
fair.
sets.
Mm,
Yeah, they were causing me some grief, and so I had to move it outside of Flow Designer back to a scripted um, resol- uh, resolution.
and that's interesting because I think they did add.
They did. You can
Uh,
latch onto it and get those.
mhm, mhm.
There is
I think it was in
there's
Rome they
way
added it.
yeah there's ways to get it in here, but what I needed to do I think just wasn't working in Flow
Mhm.
Designer. Um,
Let's let.
it wasn't a simple thing. It was kind of robust, and so I think that's where Flow Designer starts having some problems if you get too complicated with it.
Mhm.
It runs into some issues.
Yeah, I think that the trick, just a free trick is think of your subflows as like functions, right? And so like if you're doing something complex or something that you would be repeating in other places, create a subflow and then just
Hmm.
throw it into a flow. But if the thing is very simple, then just do it all in the flow.
Yeah, if the logic flow is the flow logic, if it's straightforward, I think
Mhm,
this is probably the easiest way to handle a lot of things,
mhm,
because it doesn't take a lot of it's low code, right? Or no
mhm,
code.
mhm.
I mean, there is chances where you'd want to script something or do something like that, but for the most part, this is your low code, no code solution, and it's very easy to use.
Yeah, and I know someone mentioned to me as well that so one of the downsides of Flow has always been it's slow sometimes to like queue it up and it generates a lot of records because you have your flow context, you have your troubleshooting, your debugging, like your messaging that it all handles. They did release an API that allows you to call the flow quickly, which won't generate a
Hmm.
bunch of the records. And so I think the reason they did that was to help compete with business rules. So right
Mm,
now, if you want to create a simple business rule, like it takes no time at all, and it's super fast on the system.
yeah,
But if you
yeah.
did that for a flow, it takes a lot of resources in order to do it.
Understandable. I mean, there's probably the abstraction layer above this
Hmm.
is where you're going to run into that, and as an old school developer, I always love code more than anything else because there's no magic involved.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know what you wrote and how it's going to work. Right here, you choose things, and there's a magic layer that takes what you just did and translates it to code, and that's I think that's where your performance is. So if they can trim that down and make it more uh, performant, that's great. That does everyone huge favors.
Exactly. And so, do you want to try finding if we can turn on the flow diagram? We could show that again.
Yeah, yeah. Why not?
So The docs aren't really there for it yet, but let's go to our favorite properties. And so it's just properties list or
That's probably easier.
I think that does exist somewhere there. So
Well, I'm sure it does.
we got some motivation that we'll be able to figure this out. I'm liking it.
I'm a shy ServiceNow admin. Don't watch me when I look for things.
And then maybe star flow.
Speaking of the asterisk, this was, and this may happen to admins around the world, but I was talking with a client one time, and we were talking about, that they weren't happy because they couldn't find records, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, what do you mean you can't find records? They're like, well, I typed this in, and by default, I always put an asterisk in front of everything when I type it in, right?
Yep.
And so I did that, and I'm like, you mean this right here? And they were like, what? How did you do that? I'm like, what do you mean? How did I do that? I just typed it in. They're like, no, you did something different, because when I type it in, I don't get those results. And it finally, came out. I'm like, do you mean the asterisk in front, the wild card? And they were like, yeah. I'm like, well, yeah, there you go. That's how you do it. You just put an asterisk in there. And they were like, oh, well, this changes everything. I love this product now. And it's like, okay, that's great.
What's interesting is I actually saw people that took it a step further and they changed it so you didn't have to type the asterisk and everything was asterisk. Now there is some performance there, but there is a
Sure.
property to change all of your lists so that you just have to type in flow and it'll be always contains rather than starts. So
I don't know. I mean, for end users, that's great for them. Let them have
yeah.
that because they need it. But
Yeah.
for me, I'd be like, I don't want that to work when I do it.
Well, the problem is like now we're so used to star that when that changes and you try to put a star, it thinks the star is like content, so you never get the result. So
Why is this not working?
yeah,
Yeah, totally. All right, what is it? It's
probably something with diagram.
let's just do that. Let's see if we can't.
Be smarter about it.
Flow
Hey.
diagram.
So you may have to change scope. May have to change scope.
Oh, see, this is so.
And I actually don't even know if this scope's available. It may be a private scope. Yeah. Click on that. Click on that record. You remember this is what happened last time.
This one?
It's not ready for us.
Oh, that's right. It was like, sorry, you can't.
Oh yeah.
What's the deal with? I can't.
And I swear I was able to like import this record and change it, but I think it's not possible. Yeah. All right, well, we can't turn it on yet, and there's no documentation yet on how to get around that.
Oh yeah, see, it doesn't even like switching to that
because it's private. Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's fun.
Hopefully they're like, it's just weird because it should be out right now, and I don't know, maybe it's a plugin like that, like maybe it's under like a feature list. Maybe go to all and type in like flow administration and then feature access list. I don't think it's in here, but because this is for like managing or limiting people, so I don't think it would be in here. Flow templates is something they did, but I think you need a plugin for that one. Let's go to plugins and see what's available for Flow. One day they're gonna make this page super fast. Oh, so one thing about the UI though that I'm remembering now is they actually lazy load the header, which I'm a fan from a performance reason, that load as much as you can whenever it's ready. And so there will be times when you load a page and it'll just be all blank because it's like waiting for everything to complete. But now the header will just show up, even if it's blank, text in there because it hasn't loaded all of the sidebars. So kudos to them for lazy loading. Hopefully they incorporate that in this page one day.
Well, yeah, it's true. Plugin page has always been incredibly slow.
Yeah. And it's crazy because it only queried 1900 things. It's not like it's querying a lot of things, you know?
Yeah, I don't. They must be doing additional components to that lookup. I mean,
Yeah.
the only thing I can think that would explain it, because it's stuff like probably this and that
Mhm.
and this here.
I wonder,
Whatever tells it that it's installed, I think is part of
I
the
wonder if
problem.
that's a Crater Con one. Like, look at the network calls that it's making, and then see if we
Ugh,
can,
plugins.
create.
I just Googled Google, right? Yeah.
Ooh, maybe diagram.
Oh yeah, diagram.
Oh, boom! Look at that. Update that bad boy. Hopefully, us updating. We probably should look at release notes. Nah, it's okay. Uh,
Well, you
so
don't like
float.
just to go. You don't like to go cowboy on things and just load them in.
Uh, yeah, that one. I try not to. Maybe in my PDI, which is this is your PDI, so that's okay.
It's true. Let me tell you, once you delete a database in production, you get kind of cowboy shy for anything in production.
Yeah, yeah. Someone was telling me like I think the lesson there's a nugget here that around like update sets. Like, let's say you're working on something and you finished working on that thing and you want to explore to make it better. Do the exploration in a different update set.
Yes, or in your
Be,
PDI. I
or in
mean,
your PDI.
seriously,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
You
Because
shouldn't use your dev instance as your playground. Like, you should use a PDI as your playground as much as possible.
it's so true. Because then, I mean, it's what facilitates like frequent clone downs.
Mhm.
Is you get a team of admins who are doing nothing but using dev as their playground, right? And then
Yep.
you're like, oh my gosh, dev is so far out of sync with production. We're
Yep.
gonna have to clone. And then you get in
Yeah.
these terrible fast clone cycles.
Yeah. And then you're like, well, it's stopping development, and you're like, well, stop using it as a playground.
So okay, so on the same topic, what are your thoughts on getting dev to a new version over production to
Y-
look at things? Do you recommend doing test instead and still having dev the same as production as far as the version?
Wait, I'm confused. Like,
So
like
let's
with
say
the data,
you're
or
well, no, just the instance, just the version. So you've got the new one's coming out. San Diego's coming out.
Mhm.
Um, do you put it on dev or test? Which way would you do it? Would you put it on test
uh,
instead?
so I do it on dev first. Well, so
Okay.
oh man, this is a complex upgrading strategy that it does depend. So step one, kid you not, submit a highware ticket, ask for a temporary instance. Boom.
Okay.
That's like the quickest way to, and what you use that for is exploring if anything major is broken. So you do
Yes.
your
Yeah.
developer kind of testing there. If that all looks
Hmm.
good, then you install it dev, test, prod all the way up, and you can effectively use your ATFs. You can effectively change that, look at your skip logs, etc. But ServiceNow is great about like if you want a temporary instance to test something, like super awesome. The only thing you have to be careful there though is once you start in dev upgrading, like if you have a production bug, like you're in a really weird state. So
Right. Yeah, because you
so
develop in dev, and then how do you get into production?
so second use case right here is ask for a temporary instance and then make that a clone of prod and leave that there in case you ever have an emergency and it blows away when you're done. So
Yeah. No, I,
so
I, I like that process. I wasn't aware that you could ask for temporary instances from ServiceNow. I mean, if they're free and temporary, that's a great solution, I think, because it takes it out of your up, or not your upgrade path, but your push to prod path, right? Because you really do not want to mess that up. Because I've been in situations where you've updated dev and something's a problem, and now you've got this like, well, how do we develop for prod to fix things? Just like you said, because dev is now on a different instance or a different version. Hey, look at that.
Yep. Well, let's go check our properties. Let's see if
I'm reloading now.
How dare you stay on this page longer than you needed to?
Just my bad.
Terrible. Always leave the plugin page as soon as possible.
Yeah, and now I'm screwed. I can't even get off of it. All right, let's see.
Oh, we're good. Well, sys properties maybe.
Oh, you want to go to sys properties?
Yeah, while that loads.
Oh, hey, look. It finally reloaded.
That was a lazy load, though. I wonder if it's still private. And you can open that same approval one. Well, yeah, now your instance is locked because this page is amazing.
I probably shouldn't have tried to do 2 loads at the same time. I mean, what was I thinking? We'll stop that.
There is a SNUtils one. But we won't have to show it to like cancel transactions.
That's nice.
Dimitar says, for one of the customers, we need to request a temporary sandbox and clone dev first just to safeguard it. Nice. Interesting.
Nice.
I would have a temporary sandbox and you clone prod to there, because it's just like the closest thing to prod, and it's now safe, right?
Run the upgrade.
Run the upgrade, and then if it works, blow that one away, request a new one, load prod on it, and now keep that the same version as prod until you then work your way dev up to prod, in case like you need to fix any emergency things. I mean, that's if ServiceNow allows you to do that, that's what I would do.
Yeah. Okay, so guess what? We're set to true now. That update sets you to true. So we should be able to.
So if you're in Flow Designer now.
Okay. Oh, look at that. It loaded.
And then go to that approve.
Oh, whoops. Look at me. Not even keeping track. Lying about what I do by default, right?
No, I think it was the resolved case one.
Oh.
I just know it's a simple. You didn't do the start. Yeah, auto close.
Stop watching me.
Yeah. So yeah, now what's next to that view button? You now have
there we go.
Diagramming. So if you haven't seen it yet, here's kind of a non-printable but viewable way to logistically look at your flow. So at some point, I know they're going to add printing capabilities here, because that would be like super sweet. And you can also add actions here. So this may eventually become like the default place to do things. I think that the trouble that we have with this is becoming workflow again. But I will say what I like about this is it's very structured. Like workflow was just like all over the place.
Oh yeah. I mean, have you seen some of those complicated HR workflows? And they're like following lines. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Or path. So however you want to call it. This is a little better because it's straight lines. It's structured, but you get an idea of what's happening, right? You can follow it much easier. So even if they did merge workflow with this and to create, one flow to rule them all, right? I like this view much better than the workflow canvas.
And you can search on this, which is nice. So on the search, you click like update, and like it'll like highlight the thing for you. So if you are in a complex one, like imagine you are in like a 50, node one, like searching is just like, boom, find me the thing really quick. So I do like
Yeah,
that.
that really is nice. I kind of wish I do miss that they don't have the left side over here, because it was helpful, and I get that they have components here, but
hmm
you know what? Why can't I? Oh, I see. It's where? No, where is it? Yeah, well, that doesn't seem to work very well.
I think, yeah, maybe it's because we're not in the scope, if it is a scope,
Uh,
but I don't think that's it. It could just not
may
be supported yet.
maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
yeah,
I think it's probably because you have search open. That's probably a bug. So close
oh,
search. Now try that. Yeah. Yeah.
oh, that's just like the old UI too, though. If you have any sort of
Like search going on here.
you get
Yeah.
those weird like flashes, and you're like, I can't type anything.
I just wanna we get a drum roll if we found a bug. Or
Yes.
no, air horn. We're gonna air horn it.
Oh, okay.
Woo!
Woo! Yeah,
Found a bug.
yeah. I like it.
Um,
But
cool.
yeah, so I do miss, I kind of wish they had that here, because the drag and drop from this view is helpful
Mm,
sometimes, because you know what
mhm.
you're after. You're just like, oh yeah, right here, grab it, drag it over,
Honestly,
and
what I
move along.
wish is data had a search. Like, show me a search on the data one. Because sometimes you're going so deep in these things. Like if you go into the lookup records, like click on the data on the right, underneath the data. Yeah, like lookup records
Oh,
show
oops.
that.
Oh, here, look up
And then
records.
you go into action status.
Oh,
Like
yeah, yeah,
I can keep chaining. Like I would love a search capability there to like, quickly find what I need.
yeah. Because yeah,
So,
if you have to go multiple levels of
and
dot walking.
the common one is if you need like a user's manager, right? You go to user, you go to manager, and then you need their email, and it's just like you're 3 levels deep on this
Yes,
like one
yes,
thing. Um,
yeah. No,
or maybe they're
it's
gonna add some predictive intelligence here to like help you say this is what you want or potentially this is what you need.
so this would be a great case point for that natural language. I think,
Yes, yes, yes.
if they brought this in here, and you're like, hey, you know what? Look up case where whatever, and instead of it translates whatever your natural language, what you want it to do. I think, just like it
Mhm.
had before, that would be awesome.
Yep, I'm with you. I'm with you. I was like, back in the day, I was like, I just want this to be YAML based. Like, just, I want to be able to just like type in an editor, like that low code JSON editor that we didn't find. Like, I just want to be able to type in there. Like, I know exactly what my flow is going to do. Give me the boilerplate. And I think they're trying to do that with flow templates. Like, I know we didn't discuss it, but it is a
Mm,
new one. The idea of, flow templates um, and making like a flow as a starter place for citizen developers. So this is kind of, I can see that they're slowly getting into making things easier for
yeah.
people.
I love reusability, and templates
Mhm,
is a great way to do it. It's one of those shortcomings in Portal that I was never happy about. Like, you create a
mhm.
template there, it's only for that widget. You can't share it across other widgets, so you have to go build another one, and you can't use the same name or ID,
Yeah, yeah.
because you've already used it. So why can't I share it across other widgets? It's
Yep.
and so that was one of the things I wasn't happy about with service portals, that you couldn't reuse those. You'd have to, you know, duplicate effort there.
hmm hmm Well, I think we did a good job of like exploring some of the UI, some of Flow for San Diego, and if there are
Yeah, yeah,
specific areas that, and then we even talked about like the industries and where ServiceNow is focusing on. We talked
right.
how to find the release notes. I think we did a good job of just like, tackling some of the things. I mean, San Diego release is massive, right?
Yes.
ServiceNow is constantly has so many teams building so many different parts of the product that, unless you have a very clear focus, we could talk about the entire thing for all the time.
Oh yeah,
Um,
all day. We could have done an 8 hour podcast, but nobody wants to watch that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we hope you enjoyed it. And if you like it, subscribe. If you have topics you want us to do, you could find Jon and I on like the SM Dev Slack or LinkedIn. Like,
Yep.
shoot us a message, and we're happy to have you on and dive into any of the topics that you want. So
Yeah, for sure. And if you wanna join us as a guest, let us know.
yeah,
We love
yeah,
guests. Guests
yep.
are fun.
All right. Well, thanks again for tuning in.
We'll see